Hey tennis players, welcome to another stroke analysis with me, Coach Meike. I'm a former top 30 WTA pro and 19 times Grand Slam competitor, and we are looking at the backhand of one of my clients here in Denver, Jeff. He is newer to tennis. He's very athletic. He played college football and just recently picked up tennis, and the backhand is the shot that he still needs to work on the most. So let's get to it. If you like this video, please let me know in the comments. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. My channel is close to 1,000 subscribers. It would be awesome if you could help me get there sooner rather than later. All right, so let's look at the backhand here from the back. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna let them run 4 or 5 shots so that you see yourself and that you're already getting a feel and maybe even an idea yourself there what we need to tweak. So first things first, as usual, we're looking at the grip. The left hand, your dominant hand, is on the bottom and has a continental grip. So that's exactly what we want. The top hand is in an Eastern forehand grip, and it's basically like a right-handed forehand, if you will. What I do like is that the racket face is above the hands on the take back, and you do have a good loop. So you have a higher take back, and then you're getting the racket head below the ball, and you can brush up to the ball. Now the main thing, and I'm pretty sure you've probably seen that before, is that the spacing is an issue. There are a few balls where you time it perfectly. This one is not one of them. So you see here, you already have to bend your elbows to make room, and you see how you have to shrug up there also to make room for the ball. And I think we see that pretty clearly then here. You're shanking the ball a little bit and it's not going exactly where you want it to be. So what you want to work on is that you probably have a little less air here between your upper body and your arms, because if you have the arms sometimes a little higher and a little lower, there's a lot of variation to it, and it doesn't really get you the same consistent motion at all times. So this could be tucked in a little bit more, and that hopefully then helps with having the same take back every single time, and then bringing the racket forward and having that contact point out here a little bit more to your side. Because the next thing that happens when you're also very close is that you're pulling the racket very quickly around instead of staying with it and extending through the ball a little bit longer. We do have some balls here where you do really, really well. So here you're making more room, and you see that immediately from the incoming ball here, how much room there is now from the ball to you. And again, you have a good loop. The racket head comes under the ball, and that is a good contact point right here. That is between hip and shoulder. That's exactly where we want it. And you can see now that your right hand is more in front of your right shoulder. So that is one of the things that you can work on, that you really have that here in an extension. This way your entire body weight goes into the ball and you don't have to make room and falling off to the left. And you see also that you have more of an extension through the ball. This here is good extension. So you want to stay with your contact point here and then hit through the ball long, long, long. And then you let the right hip come around. That's exactly what you want to do. So that was a much better ball here. Let's look at 1 or 2 more. So to me, that's really more of experience. Since you're a pretty new player, that's just hitting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of balls and just learning how incoming balls are varying depending on the height, the depth, the speed, the width, and the spin. All right, so we've got Marin Cilic here, and for the purposes here, I've made him a left-hander. Theoretically, or not theoretically, he is a right-hander, but I flipped the footage here a little bit just to show you two different takebacks. So he's got a very high takeback, and that's absolutely an option. But what I want you to pay attention to is how much closer his arms are to his upper body when he's taken the racket back. Now he's extending, and his contact point is here out in front. So you see the wrist is not quite in front of the right shoulder, but it's not hidden by your body basically. If you're jamming yourself, if we look at you from the back, we can't see your right hand or barely see it. So that's where your contact point wants to be, and then you see the follow through goes all the way over his left shoulder. So now we got the true lefty master of the backhand, obviously Rafa Nadal, and very different take back to my mind. Not quite as high at all, but again, you see that the space between the rib cage and the arm is not quite as far as you had yours. And he's got a very simplified, to my mind, very much simplified motion. It's almost more down and back instead of having the racket face up here. And because of the angle that we have, looking at it from a little bit to the back to the right and where he's playing the ball, this looks like he has the contact point way further out here. But the key really is that it's in front of his center of gravity. And that is one other thing that we'll see on some of the balls from the side, that you're also jamming yourself that way. So again, to my mind, that has a lot to do that you're newer to tennis and you just have to hit a gazillion balls and getting that feel for how the incoming ball is bouncing, where you are in relation to it, and then moving your body accordingly. So let's look at the backhand from the side. All right, so again, I'll let it run a few times. And just so that you're seeing what your backhand looks like. All right, good. So let's look at it from the beginning here. So again, what I do like is proper grips. And on the take back, you do have a nice loop. And you're letting the racket head come under the ball. Now, and you see that here very clearly, you very much jammed, right? And that is kind of like a kind of repeating issue there a little bit. So ideally, you want your arms here almost fully extended. To my mind, this ball comes up to you a little too high, and it's really uncomfortable to hit the ball almost shoulder high. So usually we say we want to control the ball between hip and shoulder, but newer players, when it gets out of their hip, waist high, maybe even chest height, that is harder to coordinate. So I think on a bunch of balls, you would do better to actually start back a little bit further. And we talked about that then when we were rallying, that you just have a court position that's a little deeper and you have more opportunity to actually move in to shorter balls, or have balls that are already dropping down a little bit in a more comfortable strike zone. So again, let's look at a few more. I like that better, that you're stepping back, you're letting that ball drop more into your strike zone. That is a better contact point, right? I think you happen to shank that a little bit on the frame here, but in terms of distance in front, I like this better. To To my mind, it could still be a little bit further about here so that you're not having your arms as close to your body. And again, you're getting jammed there a little bit. But to me, that's a little bit better here. And then what you really want to look for is that you extend through the ball. So imagine you were to hit 3 balls in a row. So if there were another ball here and then one more ball here, so that your racket, maybe I can actually, here you would brush up to the ball a little bit more. That makes more sense. So that you're hitting through the ball a little bit more instead of coming around and out of the flight path of the ball. So it kind of accompanying the ball a lot more instead of falling around here a little bit. But again, gets a little high here, a little close. That contact point is better. And you see that your right arm is a little bit more extended, so that's good. That arm can almost entirely be extended, and you'll see that in a couple of the examples that I'm giving you in a second. So we have a very, very young Rafa here. And let's look at it, his backhand here. So he has a very, very flat take back. Key is that the racket is below, the racket head is below the wrist, and he's brushing up to the ball, but you see how long he's extending to the ball. So I don't have enough frames here in this footage, but you see that the right arm is fully extended and he's still swinging more forward. Now he comes around. So this is fully extended. He's having a longer swing phase forward. Now he comes around. And in German, we call that staying with the ball more. And that's definitely one of the things that we want to work on, that you're staying longer in this direction with your racket head instead of coming around and kind of brushing out of the flight path of the ball. And then again, you see that really follow through, that long follow through, wrapping around the left shoulder.